Want to make a positive difference for your community, but not sure how? Throughout times of uncertainty, when individuals and families find themselves combating food insecurity and economic hardships, or when preparing the next generation of youth is more important than ever, one organization works to bridge the gap between the needs of our community and the hundreds of local support services. United Way of Fort Smith area has been serving the community for more than 90 years, partnering with local agencies to be a helping hand to those in need while working in the areas of health, education, financial stability, and crisis. United Way of Fort Smith area is asking for your donation to help be a difference maker. By donating, 100% of your donation goes toward helping the needs of our community. We need your help to create real change.
So United Way works each year to really lift people out of their current situation and homelessness, and how we do that is when we look at programs like Next Steps Transitional Housing Program. It's one of the best in the state. So you have individuals obviously that are living on the street. We get them out, we get them the hot meal, we get them the shelter, but then we enroll them in a transitional housing program in order for them to really have that opportunity to get back into society as a thriving citizen again. So that's getting them a job, that's getting them shelter over their head, and again, you know, our perspective is we want to lift them out of that current situation and get them back where they need to be.
So Next Step Homeless Service started about 30 years ago with St. John's Episcopal Church. They started as a ministry. They wanted homeless people to be able to get out of the elements and be able to have someone to socialize with and talk with and have coffee. So they started the ministry across the street in a building where we still are at from their church. And for many, many years we were primarily a day shelter where people could come in during the day, Monday through Friday, have breakfast, coffee, services of all types. And so now about half of what Next Step does is housing related. So we have transitional housing and permanent supportive housing. When somebody comes into our building, we're looking at what are their needs, where are they right now, where they're at, and how can we take them to the next place where they want to work their way out of homelessness. So in emergency day shelter, we provide obviously shelter from the elements every day. We provide breakfast and lunch every day. We provide a food bag on Fridays for individuals who are in encampments or on the street and need a little something to tide them over on Fridays. We also use that as a way to incentivize them to do classes and things that we hold within our facility because they really like to get the snacks and things for the weekend. We also help with documentation that they lose and that they need. We help with birth certificates and IDs, and we work with different partners in the community to help us pay for the IDs. That's something that's, you know, a real barrier for a lot of people to do anything, is to get your documents. One of the really beautiful things about having the partnership with United Way is that we are able to have access to lots of other volunteers and agencies and businesses within our community that really helps us. We're able to make those relationships with your help and assistance. You guys have helped train us in different kind of things that we would normally not have time or the resources to learn about. Another thing that's very important to us financially as an agency is that we use the money that we get from United Way as a match for other grants that we apply for, which is very important.
Hi, I'm Gary Bell. I manage the Homeless Veterans House, the Buddy Smith House here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's transitional house to have no veterans left on the street. Just no room in our society to have a homeless veteran. Myself, I became homeless when I became disabled and came as a client, and 11 years later I'm still managing the house, and what a difference it's made in my life, and it can make a difference in any veteran that truly wants to make a difference in his life. It's a wonderful transition, a wonderful opportunity that I know of no other organizations that even come close to making it as capable for someone to get back to being self-sufficient again.
If we did not have the United Way funding, it would definitely impact our bottom line budget of what we could do. There would be some things that we would definitely have to stop doing because that funding is a good chunk of what we have in our budget. Of course, I would say that our agency would find a way to survive, but I think that it allows us to do things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do, which of course impacts our services and our community.
Yeah, the Salvation Army has been in the River Valley since 1895, so quite a while. And we're really excited this year that we're really reevaluating, specifically after leaving COVID, of doing lots of things maybe differently, everything from food programs to how we shelter people, to also how we're working with at-risk youth. So it's been a really fun year. I know me and my wife are fairly new here. We got here last June, and so lots of excitement, lots of new things. And we're just excited to see what is in the future for the Salvation Army in the River Valley. I know homelessness in the River Valley, I think looks different than other communities that I've been a part of. Specifically in our community, it's a lot of older people. Specifically the Salvation Army, it's a lot of at-risk seniors taking care of family. And so I know it often not only affects the client, but it very much affects children. And so we have very much a two-faceted approach to address the individual who's homeless as well as the children that are often in the care of a parent or a grandparent. And so specifically at our shelter, that's a family shelter, specifically ladies with children, we do a lot of work in making the children have a comfortable environment to where they can still succeed in school, do well. Hopefully it doesn't feel like a shelter too much, but then also helping mom or grandma get back on the road to get them out of the shelter as quick as possible. That way they can return to some normalcy. I know the Salvation Army offers really a gamut of really services. Everything from disaster service if there's a tornado, to nightly feeding programs that are totally free of charge that anybody can come and eat. We really think of those programs as being more homeless prevention, specifically with our feeding program, or if they're coming to us for utility assistance or even shelter, that it's allowing them to offset their income to where they can remain in their apartment or keep providing that expensive medication, because the last thing we want is them falling into full-blown homelessness, and if they are, it's very difficult to get them out. Yeah, United Way has always funded our emergency shelter. What it really allows us to do is it allows us to really resource the mothers and also kids, give them a safe place to go to be, as well as also coordinate really within the family. But we really look at it as we want to be a good community partner and be able to resource our clients with the most that we have in our community.
You know, our partner agencies that work with the homeless have such a huge impact on the most vulnerable within our community. When we look at feeding sites, overnight shelters, just having an area that they can go during the day. I mean, we're in Arkansas, so of course there's a lot of heat and really cold winters sometimes. So having a place where they can get out of the elements, get a hot meal is so vital for our homeless population. You know, volunteerism is huge for us. So when we look at projects, not just with day caring, but volunteerism throughout the year, a lot of times there's a misconception that these are going to be big projects, landscaping or doing, you know, huge mural projects that maybe you don't have the skill set for. For us though, you know, that's even cleaning and organizing. So the impact that we see of some of these projects are so vital to the organizations in which they're being completed at. Volunteers have a huge impact on our agencies. When we look at on an annual basis, over $100,000 of projects are completed. If you think about, put that into big picture, most of these agencies don't have the volunteer base or don't have the resources to be able to fund that. So to be able to have volunteers from United Way come out, it has a huge impact on those agencies each and every year.
Volunteering in the community that you live in creates lasting change for those around you. So if you think or imagine a family maybe that lives next door, or a family member of your own, or even yourself. If you sit and think, you could probably think of a child that goes to an after-school program, maybe a loved one that receives Meals on Wheels, maybe an individual that's had a house fire or a natural disaster and they've needed assistance for that, and look at some way that a volunteer or nonprofit organization has impacted their lives. So we know that volunteer projects are needed throughout the year, and not everyone can volunteer on just our one day of caring during volunteer week. So we have what's called Day of Caring 365, where we coordinate for civic organizations, companies, individuals, families, anyone that's looking for something to do with their time and to give back as a way to the community. We can design a project specifically for that in whatever area you're looking for and whatever time of year or day that you're looking for as well. So I encourage people all throughout their community to find what they're passionate in. Whether that's reading to a child, working in food, helping with homelessness, or even just visiting with a senior citizen, really making a difference in your own community.